stick with the news. Right. Let's just. We're up to Daf Beis Amud Aleph, about halfway down. We're discussing. Was Yerushalayim divided to all the Shvatim, or was it a privately owned? Says the Gemara, "Hi Tana, this particular Tana Sava Yerushalayim Shvatim was not divided, meaning it belongs to the whole of Klal Yisrael. The Tanya, Ein maskin bottom Yerushalayim if Shalahem. You can't rent out your house in Yerushalayim because it's not theirs. Do you realize what that means? Anybody who owns a property in Yerushalayim cannot rent it out, can't charge anything, can't sell it because it's not yours. It belongs to the whole of Klal Yisrael. No. Oh, so the Shai is doing the Pascha this man dom as machlokas. And when Mashiach comes, we'll have to find out. You can't even rent out a bed. What's the machlokas if you're allowed to rent out a bed? Anybody want to suggest what's the machlokas if you're allowed to rent out a bed? More than that is the bed is really belongs to you. Only the space the bed is taking is not yours. So the question is, can you not? The fichach. The halacha is that when you bring a korban, most korbanos, the owner of the korban keeps the skin. But there's not a lot to do with the skins. So what they would do is they would leave them for the host because they didn't pay the host rent, didn't pay for the beds, didn't pay for anything. So they would pay them, they would give them the skins. The correct midas, when you go to stay by your host and you use earthenware kelim, which were very easily broken, and if you didn't take them back home with you, you shouldn't try and sell them. You should leave them for your host. And the same thing with the skins. That means your main possessions you take home with you. The things which are a benefit to the owner are not tremendous cost to yourself, you're supposed to leave to your host when you stay by somebody else as a guest. Says the Gemara, with the Kforim and of the villages, is it really Metame ben Negoim? But Tanya Lachuz or the house before Achuz Ashich b'Shoisa. That there's only tzavas when they conquered Eretz Yisrael. Kol Shoisa v'Leichilku l'Shvatim. If they conquered it but didn't divide it to Shvatim, Chilku l'Shvatim v'Leichilku Beis Avos, divided to Shvatim, not to individual families. Chilku l'Beis Avos v'In Kolechad Nakeh Shalei, not each person recognizes what it says. Nine, how do you know? Tamulima v'Asher Lo Yabais Mishmi Yuchad Eloi. It has to be that you know it's yours. Yotzu Edo she'enu Yuchad Eloi. That if they're not particularly yours, there's no tzaras. That means a shul, because it's publicly owned, there's no tzaras. So how can there be tzaras? Is one of two explanations. Either we're talking about where the chazan lives there, that we're talking about where the chazan lives there. Alternatively, that's a machlikas and chachamim. But the answer that we gave, that a village shul can have tzaras, the Gemara now retracts. That it can't have tzaras because you do not know who it belongs to. Mishnah says that we always prepare a secondary kohen. Why? What's the reason we prepare a secondary kohen? Because the first one becomes tomei, you need the second one. Now the halacha is for a kohen to serve the Beis Hamikdash, he has to do what's called chinuch havoda. Chinuch havoda means he has to do something to establish himself as a kohen. Normally what they would do is they would pour Shem HaMishcha the kohen gadol, and they would put on the 8 clothes. The Tosfos Shalom explains that this whole next Gemara is going after Yeshua Melech, who hid the oil. Since he hid the oil, there's only one thing left, is what? Is to put on 8 clothes. But putting on 8 clothes by itself is not a chashivus, just wearing 8 clothes. He has to do something to make him a Kohen Gadol. So he has to wear the 8 clothes and do the avodah. That's all very good if the person became Tomei a week before Yom Kippur or a day before Yom Kippur. But if the Kohen Gadol became Tomei on the morning of Yom Kippur, and now we're going to use the secondary Kohen Gadol. In what way is he going to be Kohen Gadol? Just because in fact we say the Kohen Gadol, that doesn't make a person Kohen Gadol. To become a Kohen Gadol, you have to do something which is called inauguration. Inauguration is a proper mahalach. You have to actually do an inauguration. How can you do an inauguration? Says the Gemara like this: before the Kohen Talmud. So what he'll do is he'll bring the Kohen Talmud Shacha. We put on the special belt. It's a normal belt, meaning that what happens is normally he wears a colored belt. That's fine. So on Yom Kippur, what happens is on Yom Kippur he wears a white belt. So therefore that shows that it's completely different because the Kohen Hedyot wears a colored and he's wearing a white. So it shows it's being Kohen Gadol. It's not the same belt. And therefore, Kohen Gadol always wears, Kohen Hedet always wears a white belt. Michael and Mima, Ma'abaya loivesh shemoina. He wears 8 clothes. And what he does is he takes a fork and he turns over some of the meat so that it should burn quicker. And that's an avoida, and therefore now it becomes a Kohen Gadol. A zor that turns over with a fork. So what he does is he goes to the Mizbeach, takes a fork, turns over the meat, and that makes the meat burn quicker. That's an avoida, and once it's an avoida, it's a Kohen Gadol. Oh, very good. It's a good question. Because over here, he's doing a biur. The answer is yes. Because it's part of burning the carbons, therefore he's allowed to do it in Kippur. Says, well, about Papa, my top of the base on the base, serving in is the making him into a Kohen Gadol. That means the first time when Moshe Rabbeinu made all the kelim, what did he do? He poured oil on them. From then on, just using them made them inaugurated. So we've got machlokas, what he did to make him inaugurated. Either he wore a belt, or he turned over with a fork the carbon tomit, or the very fact that he did the rest of that avodah, that was mechavchoy, that was enough. Now we're going to discuss for some time the belt. Let's get it very clear. Everybody agrees the belt of Yom Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur was made out of white linen, because the Torah says, "Avneit bad yachko," a linen belt. Here, so you go to it this morning. Here's the nice simple picture. Right, where is it? Sorry, it's a bit earlier. Here it is. Everybody agrees the belt on Yom Kippur was the white belt. Everybody agrees that during the rest of the year, the Kohen Gadol wore colored belt, because the Torah says before. The question is, the Torah does not talk about what did the Kohen Hedyot wear the rest of the year. There's 2 opinions. Did he wear white? Did he wear colored? That is not clear in the Torah. We know that the Kohen Hedyot, by the way, wore white trousers, a white shirt, and a white hat. That's clear in the Torah. Because it says, because sin is bad, all that. But it doesn't say about the belt, what color the belt was. It says the book, also have Kohen Hedyot, Rabbi Babbalos, Rabbi Shimon, Chadoma Shel Kilayim was made out of Kilayim, meaning wool and linen colored ones. The Chadoma Shel Putz was made out of linen. This time, Rabbi Udama Shel Kilayim, the Tanya. Even Kohen Gadol Kohen Hedyot to the Avdei, the only difference in clothes between Kohen Gadol and Kohen Hedyot is a belt. Divrei Rabbi. Because even the belt wasn't a difference. Amos, when are we talking about? The rest of the year. How can you say the only difference is the belt? The Kohen Gadol wore the tzitz, the ephod, the choshen, and the meal. So there's a much bigger difference. And that's what we mean. The Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur wore white belt, and the Kohen Hedyot in Yom Kippur wore colored belt. That's the difference. Those 4 clothes which they normally wear the same, did they wear white or not? That's the machlokas. We're not talking about Yom Kippur at all. The belt of Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur divrei kol shel putz. L'shayim oisa shana divrei kol shel kilayim. Rabbi says it's kilayim, but it was made out of linen. So go machlokas regarding the belt of a Kohen Hedyot during the rest of the year, what it was made out of. If you've got the pasuk next to you, it's very kedai to see the pasuk. The Torah tells us that every single day we would do something called Tumas Hadesh. What was Tumas Hadesh? Take the ashes off. Now let's read the pasuk carefully. He should wear his clothes, or michnasei bad and his trousers. Yilbash al besoy. The word yilbash is completely spare. Why is it spare? If I say to you, he shall wear his shirt and his trousers on his skin, that's enough. I don't need to say he should wear his shirt and his trousers, yilbash he should wear. You just read it. Why does it need to add yilbash al besoy? The Gemara is going to give 3 different drashas just from the word yilbash. What can we possibly learn from the word yilbash? If you look at this pasuk, the Torah says the shirt and it says the trousers. It doesn't mention the hat. It doesn't mention the belt. The word yilbash means, and he shall wear other clothes as well, i.e., the belt and the hat. Now, we all know that in Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur, what clothes did he wear? The full linen clothes. Now, after Yom Kippur, is he ever allowed to wear it again? Have you ever heard about this? He put it away because God is not allowed to wear it again. Says Abdus, Kohen Gadol can wear it again, but Kohen Hedet can. So Kohen Hedet can wear. Yilbash teaches you because it says Yanichem Shom, this week's parasha, that after he takes off his clothes, he puts them down there, he puts them away, so he can't wear them again. Says Abdus, Yilbash teaches you that Kohen Hedet can. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yoma, I don't agree with you. I've got two problems. It's the wrong kind of belt. Because on Yom Kippur is going to be wearing a white belt, and the Kohen Hedet is going to be wearing a colored belt.
What about the rest?
No, the rest is exactly the same. It's all linen. The Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur wore all linen except for the belt. The one which you use for a Kodesh thing to be a Kohen Gadol, you're going to use Kohen Hedet. And the matter of the Yilbash, the Rabbi says, you're allowed to wear worn out clothes. The halacha is, you're allowed to wear worn out clothes, but the Rishonim point out the Meiri and Mitzvah, but not if they're torn. It's a very delicate difference between clothes which are worn out and clothes which are torn. Torn is no good, but worn out is okay. Rashi brings a shitta that you should dafka wear worn out. Why? Because we're talking about taking away the ashes, and the ashes would always ruin the clothes. Rashi disagrees, and Rashi says no. That at the end of the day, it's one spoonful of ashes is not going to ruin it completely to the extent that you should wear dafka worn out clothes. Says the Gemara. As the Tanya you have to put them away. You can't use it for another Yom Kippur. Right. The Mishnah tells us that we have two kalim gedolim. One to prepare in case he gets tummy. Now, what happens if they call Kohen Gadol A, Kohen Gadol B? Kohen Gadol A was the main Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol B is the replacement. What happens if the replacement takes over? After Yom Kippur, what happens to the replacement? Do we say that what happens? It says, "Well, we appointed somebody else." Once the first one becomes story, he comes back a Kohen Gadol. Sheni kamitzas kohen gadol alav divrei is like a Kohen Gadol. So, anybody know any special halachas for a Kohen Gadol? What's a special halacha for Kohen Gadol? Somebody dies, he doesn't become to the Levaya. What else? So only that Maya Besula, he can't marry Mono, and he doesn't. There's a lot. He has to be a Chachamitin every day. So this replacement remains a Kohen Gadol forever. So we'll have two Kohen Gadolim. It can't be anything. We know Tachta. It can't be anything. Why not? If we replace two Kohen Gadolim, it will create animosity. Because the first Kohen Gadol will say, I got back my job. You can't have two heads of Yeshiva. You can't have two heads of Kohen Gadol. Kohen Hedet, that's what we said beginning of the show. Kohen Hedet is Shemaim, the Kiddush Levited. You can't make him Kohen Gadol and then after Yom Kippur put him down to Kohen Hedet. No, so we leave him in limbo. If he continues, he's still kosher. If the first one dies, then the second one takes over his position. Obviously, he's a replacement, he should take over. You might have thought like this, then maybe we should never let the second one take over. Why? Let's think about it very carefully. A was the Kohen Gadol. He became Tommy. We made B his replacement. Now B is waiting his whole life that what should happen, that A should die, and he'll take over his position. So maybe we should say that that's not a good situation because it creates tremendous problems. Rather, we should say that somebody else will take over. We're not going to say who. And in that way, there'll be no animosity. A shouldn't think that his whole time B is davening that he should be dying. Then no, we allow B to take over, even though the whole time it creates a situation that A looks at B as a threat. Alpha became will allow him, and once the first one dies, the second one takes over. Can somebody put on the group where we have to? You already did that. Thank you very much. If you give them the Aleph and very good.